The third step to your triptych design is going to be to add your shading technique of blending to it. Now, your second step was to take your design and trace it so that you have 3 different designs on 9x12 paper. So your first one's going to be left as it is, your original, because it's going to be your contour drawing. Your second one, the one that we're working on for step 3, is going to have your shading techniques and your blending. So some of the tools that you would should have available to you, or that if you have available to you, are your drawing pencils. And this is just a review of information from before. They come in pencil leads that are H, which stands for hard, and that would range from your HB, which is a blending of a medium hard to soft, 2H, 4H, 6H, and then your Bs, which are your soft pencils that begin with your 1B. And so you can buy sets that are like this. So just so you know that your Bs can go all the way from your 1B all the way up to a 12B. The standard are usually the sizes that are often available to you are your 2Bs, your 4Bs, and 6Bs. Now, the reason that if you have access to these, it'll make your work so much easier because your hard leads are very light, and they're going to help you with creating your values that are light. Now, if you don't have those and you want to just use a regular pencil, or if you want to use your mechanical pencil, that's fine, but you're going to have a value. So that means that you can't just do one value throughout your whole work. So, for example, started this one over here, and you should be able to tell that there's a little darker value here, and it's a little lighter underneath. So I kept that going. Now, I did the beginning part of this with just a regular pencil, and then I added my drawing pencils to it, and it's much easier with the drawing pencils. You also may want to have access to a kneadable eraser, because remember, these don't erase so much as they pull your value off, leaving the lead and pencil that's under it. And then you're going to need some sort of tool to do your blending. It could be a paper towel, it could be a Kleenex, or the actual tortillas or blending stumps. Now, if you get a blending stump and it's dirty, it's going to be important that you clean it. And the only way to really clean these is with sandpaper. So if it has color on it, you're going to want to make sure that you clean it, because you're going to dirty your work. And this has to stay just pencil tones. And so when you clean these, you're just going back and forth. You want to keep your point on them and get all that color off if you have those. If you don't, a napkin, a Kleenex works just as well. Okay, you just have to make sure that you're staying inside your lines when you're working. So those are some of the tools you're going to need to do your work with. And then as you go to do your work, if you have a 6B, or that's going to be your darkest value, 4B is going to be a little lighter. Remember, these are softer leads, so they're going to create a darker value compared to if you're using your HBs. So you have to do blending. So that means that you're going to apply your value to your work. I would try to make an effort to make it smooth as you work with it. Then I would consider using your paper towel, your Kleenex, or your blending stump, and coming in and just softening that up and blending that so that it's a little bit smoother. You're not going to be doing the whole entire page where everything has a value. You're going to want to leave some white spaces. You're going to have to make some decisions because you have to balance that with your dark versus your light. So you can see here with this example, the gradation, the values that are lighter in here, wherever your colors or shapes, in your lines overlap, you're going to want to make sure that you can see those. So that's where you're going to work with your value in those areas. And you're just going to have to decide what goes where your darker values are, your lightest, your mediums, your darkest values, where your areas that are going to be white that are left for this step. And you're just going to decide where you're going to apply those, what's going to go where. And if you have something that has a curve, then you're probably going to want to make sure that you do that with a somewhat of a curve with your line design like I did on my little circles here. So again, you're going to apply your value. You can make it go dark, medium, light in one space. You can have it lighter in the middle. It's really up to you. You just have to make sure that it's blended. You know how to do all of this. You know what you're doing. Trust yourself. So you can make it lighter as it comes down if you want. And all I'm doing in this case is I'm using a 4B and I'm just going lightly with my pressure. It just means you put less pressure with your work, with your pencil, not your work. And then you can come in with your, whatever you're using to smooth and blend, and you smooth all that in. So this is an example of gradation. And you saw that my pencil was lighter than what I was doing with my value. And so I decided that I needed to change because I need to clean that tortillon. But then you can come back in and you can layer in a little more value, a little more pencil. If you are doing and working with circles, this is a brand new one, so it's not pulled apart yet. So remember that as they get dirty, you just pull them apart. And that'll clean those. If you're working with circles or things where you want to have some kind of highlight, then that's where I was just talking about that if you are using your, working with something that's round, then you probably want to go in that direction with it. Otherwise, you're going to flatten it out. So that's what you're doing. You're making some decisions on what values are going where your lightest are, where your darkest are. You're doing gradation. That means that you're going to have one area where it's going from dark to light. And then you're going to be smoothing all of that in, whether you're using a Kleenex or a paper towel or an actual blending stump. That's what you're doing. So you're going to fill up your page with your values, only using blending or with your pencil.